Many years ago, there was this writer who had lost all his fortune and he had gone bankrupt. And he intended to give all his money back to his creditors in full. But 3 years later, he was still at it. And so a newspaper decided to create a fund for this writer. And many important people in that city contributed to this fund. That was a great temptation for this writer. He could have relied on that fund, and that would have been the end of his crippling debt problem. But he did not do so. And 7 months later, his new book that came out was a bestseller. He made enough money to repay all his debts. What does that show? Calamity is the ultimate test of integrity. What would you have done if you were in the writer's place? It's easier to rely on a little shortcut, borrow money, and make sure that you get your work done. But calamity is the ultimate test of integrity. And it's so important. What is integrity? It's basically living to the best in yourself. Living to the best in yourself. And if you're living to the best in yourself, you have no scope for shortcut or for some fraudulent means. During the Second World War, when the Allied forces were cruising across France, an American colonel and a lieutenant were traveling in a jeep, and they took a wrong turn, and they ran into an onward German armored column. And when they saw that, they jumped out of the jeep. The sergeant hid behind the bushes, and the colonel went into some drain somewhere below the road. The Germans spotted the sergeant, and they advanced towards the sergeant, and they started shooting him. Now the colonel could have stayed there undetected. But what did he do? He came out and he decided to fight. One pistol against all these tanks and machine guns. In the process, the colonel got killed. And the sergeant was taken prisoner, and he lived to tell the tale. Why did the colonel do that? Because he felt that was his duty. Because his conscience did not allow him to stay undetected in that drain. And that's what integrity is all about. Being one with yourself. Being one with your conscience. Integrity basically means wholeness. Like in mathematics, you have integer, which is basically a number that cannot be split into fractions. And that's what a man of integrity is. You cannot divide him under any circumstance. That's what integrity is all about. So he's not a man who thinks something and says something, or who believes in something and does something different. And so therefore there is no conflict within him. And when there is no conflict within him, he naturally has more energy. There's clarity of thought and clear speech. So if you want to be great speakers, you got to think about, how can I be more honest? How can I be more a man of integrity or a woman of integrity? Because with that comes clarity of mind and clear speech. So stand up, be bold, and speak up when you have to. And when you speak with a clear conscience, you speak well. You're a more effective speaker. And as Churchill said, never give up. Never, 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 never give in to anything except to what your conscience says is right and what is honorable. On that note, I'd like to welcome on stage the Toastmaster of the day. She is an entrepreneur. In fact, every time I speak to him, I get the sense that she is a serial entrepreneur because she's got so many ideas bubbling in her head. She's a charming speaker. She is an asset to this club. And every time she comes up on stage, she wears this lovely smile. You can't have a better MC for this fine Friday evening. Please welcome Toastmaster Sapna Chandiramani.